Moscow's Special Operational Unit, Sobr Bulat. Sobr stands for Special Rapid Response Forces. Bulat means steel. Sobr Bulat is a unit of the Russian National Guard. The Guard is responsible for Russia's internal security and numbers around 400,000, including well over 100 special units. Many of them, like Sobr Bulat, are elite forces. The Special Rapid Response Force is mainly deployed against organized crime and terrorism, training on the outskirts of Moscow. The unit is simulating the storming of a tower block. Only constant practice can give them the confidence and calmness they need for a real emergency. For security reasons, the men are not allowed to show their faces.
The most important thing is to follow the orders of the commander. Then everything else just falls into place.
Improvisation, fast reactions, and the willingness to take on responsibility. These are the essential qualities for the elite officers of the Sobr Bulat Special Forces. Physical fitness goes without saying. Some of these men are rarely satisfied, either with themselves or their comrades.
We need to do more training. More flights, more raids, and take up our fighting positions much more quickly. It all has to be perfect, just like in a real operation.
Sobr Bulat is based in Sholkova, near Moscow, at the Russian National Guard Special Forces Center. Sport is part of the job. Training takes place every day for 1 or 2 hours if possible. The men in the Moscow elite force are in their early 20s to their late 40s. And they can serve in the unit as long as they are mentally flexible and physically fit. Both are checked on a regular basis. The exercise here is to storm an apartment in a block of flats.
Please, on the floor.
That's the way to storm a flat when there are hostages involved. It's all about maximum speed, the element of surprise.
What do you do if you have to arrest terrorists?
Terrorists have to be provoked. They have to be drawn out of their shell so they show themselves. We can then use snipers or mortars, depending on where the operation is. You have to force terrorists out into the open because that makes it easier to deal with them.
The next exercise, 2 police vehicles block the target vehicle in between them. Arresting criminals in traffic is a task Sobr Bulat has to carry out frequently. Constantly training for emergencies, so that every single move is exactly right when it counts. Afterwards comes the criticism.
We need to practice that a bit more.
What's important here?
Well-coordinated procedures. Everyone has to know exactly what to do. Synchronized actions. Self-important heroics are fatal.
And even if every move is perfectly coordinated, some situations still require improvisation. Footage from an operation in Moscow. Sobr Special Forces stop a car carrying suspected criminals. They immediately step on the gas. Bullets puncture the SUV's tires. But even that doesn't stop the targets. A Hollywood-style car chase takes off in the center of Moscow. The elite officers now need to show their sprinter qualities. This convent is the end of the road. Over the last year and a half, these 3 men have raided several money transporter vehicles, getting away with a total of around 5 million euros. Bullet holes in the getaway car. The special forces only use firearms as a last resort. In this case, in order to stop the fleeing suspects. In the car, there are pistols and wigs. It looks like the men were planning to carry out another security vehicle raid.
Previous convictions?
Only when I was young.
What for?
Car theft.
What were you doing in this car?
Nothing, just sitting in it.
Why did you put up resistance?
I didn't. I was frightened, so I ran away.
Why have we arrested you?
I haven't a clue.
Tell me your name.
Do you think I'm an actor or something? Take that camera away.
The special forces remain at the scene. As a security measure, they will later take the arrested men to the police station. None of these suspected criminals claims to know anything about raids on security vehicles transporting money.
I only just arrived.
Where do you come from?
From Dushanbe.
What are you doing in Moscow?
Visiting friends. Looking for a job.
What were you doing in the car?
Nothing. I was just in the car with my friends. I haven't a clue what I'm being accused of.
For many criminals, the not having a clue phase ends abruptly when one of them starts talking. Friendships can often end very quickly, especially when the length of a prison term can be reduced by cooperating with the police. Back at headquarters, the Sobr Bulat gets ready for its next mission. All the men in the unit check their equipment carefully. It is, after all, their life insurance.
We've got these plates in various thicknesses. 4 millimeters, twice as thick as this one here, 2 millimeters.
Which one are you taking today?
The thick ones, 4 millimeters. I always do.
With these plates, the bulletproof vests can withstand bullets from a Kalashnikov. They're preparing for a raid on a gang of protection racketeers. Besides their service pistols, the Special Forces mainly use two types of weapons. This officer has an SR-2 submachine gun.
And what do you use?
An AK-47.
AK stands for Avtomat Kalashnikova, the standard weapon for Russian special units. Anyone wanting to be accepted into the Sobr has to get through a series of extensive tests.
Кандидат проходит полиграф. Психолог работает уже по полиграфолог.
We use a lie detector.
Задает ряд вопросов, длится где-то 1,5 часа. Это все подноготную выявляет.
It's important because I don't think anyone would voluntarily tell the whole truth about their past. Any irregularities are picked up immediately, so that way we get a good overall picture of the candidate. And then there's the medical checkup. If that shows up a clean bill of health, the man has to go through a fitness test at the end. And only if he gets through all these stages will the candidate be accepted. There's no way you can put a gun in everyone's hands.
The men load armored shields, bolt cutters, and ladders into their vehicles. On their missions, the special units have to be prepared for almost any eventuality. Sobr Bulat is moving out to try and arrest armed protection racketeers in the town of Serpukhov near Moscow. These men are said to be threatening the business community with violence if they don't pay up. That's all the special unit knows at this point in time. Details will be provided at the scene by criminal investigators.
What's specific to our work is that we have to adapt to any situation as quick as lightning. Only officers serve in our unit. And an officer has to be spontaneous and take on responsibility at any time. For us, this is our everyday business. Nothing new. We've got procedures for everything.
Serpukhov lies around 100 kilometers southwest of Moscow and has a population of about 120,000. The unit stops in a wooded area on the outskirts to get ready for the mission without attracting attention.
Today I've chosen the SR-2 submachine gun. In a town, you're much better off with this than with a long weapon. You can react a lot quicker with this thing than with a rifle.
In two teams, the men move off to the site of the operation in a residential area.
Understood. If the racketeers come in one car, our group will go for the rear. If they come in two cars, each group will take one vehicle.
The Sobr Bulat unit are aiming to apprehend the blackmailers just as the money is being handed over. One of the gang members is believed to be armed. This construction company is where the special forces lie in wait. As soon as the plainclothes investigators give their go-ahead, the Sobr unit will race into action. The racketeers are extremely cautious, possibly even suspecting they could be under surveillance.
Ruby to goody.
Team 2 receiving.
Ruby to goody.
I'm receiving.
Has a car pulled up near you?
No.
Stay put. They could be having the drop-off point watched.
Understood.
After 3 hours of waiting, the racketeers are nowhere to be seen.
What's going on now?
That's it for today. Give me my clothes.
The detectives are calling the operation off. Somehow, the racketeers seem to have gotten wind of the police operation. But no one knows that for sure.
There could be any number of reasons why it didn't work out. Probably the blackmailers and the victim couldn't agree somehow. I can't really say. There's plenty of room for speculation.
The men use the spare time to relax. They don't take it too seriously. Failed operations are part of the job. They head back to the Special Forces Center. The next operation can come at any moment. It depends on how many requests come in from criminal investigation departments and the Federal Security Service, FSB. Those who are not on operations go training. Sitting around is like poison for the men, say the Sobr Bulat bosses.
Okay, turn. Shoot. Crouch down. Shoot. On one knee. Shoot. Everyone does one round. All right? Good. Go.
Anyone who recklessly fires bullets around during operations can expect serious consequences. Russian Special Forces units are only allowed to use firearms in extreme circumstances.
Well, if you're talking about thieves, it's quite easy. They don't normally put up any resistance. Terrorists or other serious criminals like murderers, they use weapons to fight back increasingly more often. The tendency is very clear. They'll try to take as many opponents down with them as they can.
The elite officers practice as many different operational scenarios as possible. They themselves refer to Sobr Bulat as the Scalpel.
What do you mean by the name Scalpel?
We're just like the precision tool of a surgeon. We strike with pinpoint accuracy. Not like an army that spreads its attack out. We storm in, hit the target, and that's it. We practice upsiling, we train in the mountains, and we carry out large-scale battle maneuvers. But our specialty is assault. We're going to the right. Ready?
Yep.
Target.
Target.
Every assault team has to learn to operate in perfect synchronization. The men have to develop a blind understanding.
Target. Right. Target. Go forward. Keep the gun raised. Secure. Target red.
I'm shooting. Have you ever been wounded?
Yes.
How?
I've been shot.
Where?
In my legs.
Was it serious?
Luckily, I didn't need any complicated operations.
How long were you absent?
2.5 weeks, and then straight back to work.
Maxim, the perfectionist, never misses an opportunity to say that you just can't train often and hard enough.
Our units have to be able to operate in any situation because life throws all kinds of things at you. And exceptional situations demand exceptional thinking. And to deal with these situations, you have to be totally fit, both mentally and physically. You have to control yourself at all times.
Sobr Bulat is moving out again. The exact manpower strength of this special Russian National Guard unit is top secret, though estimates put the figure at around 200 men. The size of a Sobr Bulat assault group depends on how difficult the operation is. Sometimes 4 men are sufficient. Sometimes it needs to be 20 or more.
What's in the case?
Bolt cutters and tools for opening doors. There's no rush. We've got plenty of time.
How long have you been doing this?
15 years.
Do you still feel the adrenaline?
No, not anymore. I've had too much experience. 10 years ago, I was still getting nervous.
You're not given much information before you move out. Why don't the detectives give you a full briefing about the operation right away?
They say they're afraid their plans could leak out or be given away somehow.
So far, all the men know is that they're moving in against a gang that is supposed to have committed several robberies and burglaries. Coordinated raids are to take place at different sites at the same time, at night, when the criminals are asleep. The key is the element of surprise. The elite officers meet up with the plainclothes detectives at this gas station near the scene to clarify the final details. The detectives are not allowed to be filmed. With the detectives, the unit then moves on to the scene of the operation. They must be certain that all the gang members are at home. Synchronicity is extremely important, so that no one gets wind of the raid and manages to get away.
We're waiting for the go-ahead from the detectives. Then we'll go in through the window using a ladder. Our target person is on the first floor. Everything's okay. We're ready.
Sergeyev Posad, a Russian Orthodox pilgrimage city in the historical Golden Ring, 70 kilometers outside Moscow. One of the criminals lives on a housing estate in the outskirts of the city.
What do you need the torch for?
So I could see the target.
At the various sites of the operation, the elite forces wait for the command from the detectives. No light, absolute silence. Nothing at all should give away the presence of a special response unit.
No change of plan. We're still going in through the window. We go up the ladder and smash the window. One of us will stay outside to give us cover. The rest will just fall into place, depending on the situation.
Four hours pass. The cold light of dawn, and still no command. It looks like something must have gone wrong. The plainclothes detectives are keeping a low profile. Patience is now required. Wait, stay calm, and be ready for action at a moment's notice. A real test of nerves. "18 hours later, the two Sobr Bulat assault units have been relieved due to the long waiting time, and fresh teams are called in. Meanwhile, all the suspects are finally at home. The assault will go ahead at 2 locations at the same time. The current plan here is to gain entry through the window. But suddenly, the detectives change their minds. They want to attract as little attention as possible. So, no broken windows. Instead, they try to play a trick on the suspects.
It's me, your neighbor. Something's burning here. Open the door.
What's burning?
Something in your flat's on fire.
No reaction. The special forces are just about to go in through the window when the door opens.
Police, on the floor. Hands behind your head. Left, clean. Clean.
The raid from a different camera angle. The arrest itself takes no more than a few seconds. The suspect's girlfriend. The Sobr Bulat raid came right out of the blue. No one here had the slightest idea. The parallel raid also went according to plan.
Hands behind your back. Other hand.
Второе. Оружие есть.
Are there any weapons here? Drugs, explosives, or any other illegal objects?
Боеприпасы.
The detectives go looking for evidence. Stolen goods.
Bend your knees. Stand up. What's your name?
Kuznetsov, Dmitry Anatolovich.
Date of birth?
23rd, June 94.
Born where?
In Sergeyev Rozhad.
Address?
Address? 88 Moscow Street.
Who else lives here?
My girlfriend.
Previous convictions?
Yes, paragraph 188, section 2.
Put him down.
The special forces don't exactly take an easy-does-it approach. Paragraph 188, section 2, defines the punishment for smuggling. Almost a trivial offense compared to his crimes of the recent past. The man and his accomplices, very probably including his girlfriend, are supposed to have committed numerous robberies and warehouse burglaries. The suspect will now be taken to the police station for questioning, followed by remand, court case, and then probably a 5 to 10 year term in a prison camp. While the on-duty assault units of Sobr Bulat are out hunting criminals, their comrades are training nighttime gun battles. The motto of these elite fighters is, always stay on the move. Those who don't will start to get rusty.
Target straight ahead.
Go!
Whatever works on the shooting range in daylight has to work outside in darkness as well. Complete synchronization. Two men have to move as a single unit.
Stop. It all looks so easy, but it isn't. The men really have to grow together. Stride length and rhythm are extremely important. If the lead man starts feeling sick or gets wounded, he has to be able to fall back and support himself on his comrade's knee.
Operating in sync, the two men now have to find their targets in complete darkness, equipped only with night vision devices. The special units constantly emphasize how important it is to be at the cutting edge of technology. Their adversaries, the gangsters and terrorists, are also constantly upgrading as well.
Thermal imaging cameras are currently very much the trend, especially for snipers and machine guns. We are constantly testing new equipment and getting better. We can't afford to miss out on future developments. In our job, high-tech is a great help.
The next mission for the special unit: murder out of pure greed. A gang of three wanted to extort money from a heroin dealer. He refused to pay, so the extortionists beat him to death.
This upcoming operation will be difficult. The house is protected by a 4-meter high fence, but we'll manage. The second team has to storm an apartment. We're just clarifying the address as we speak. And then a third team will hit their target in Murmansk. That all has to happen simultaneously.
That's the head of the gang. This woman here is the one who originally had the idea to blackmail the dealer. The Sobr unit doesn't have any photos of the third suspect from Murmansk.
We'll deal with her in the apartment.
Is that on the outskirts as well?
No, in the center, at the metro stop Belarus station. She was the driver and was also involved in the murder. That's all we know up to now.
The murder victim, a 21-year-old man from Moscow. He's said to have been a heroin dealer.
If we get the address before the operation starts, we'll drive by and check the building out. Has it got cameras? Which floor do we use to gain entry? Are there bars in the windows? What's the general location like?
This is the gang leader's house, surrounded by a high fence.
Our group will climb over the fence at this corner.
A dacha site near Yubatsy, just outside the Russian capital. The Sobr Bulat has to overcome this perimeter fence, 4 meters high. Beyond the fence is the gang leader's house. It's 1:30 in the morning. The special forces want to attack simultaneously in 3 different locations: Ubeltsi, Moscow city center, and Murmansk. The men won't strictly follow the devised plan at all costs. Should the situation suddenly change, they will immediately adapt their approach accordingly. The final coordination with the detectives, and they're ready to go. Group 1 goes in at the left-hand corner. Group 2 through a hole by the garage. Group 3 waits until their comrades open the gate. To make sure the element of surprise is on their side, the men move as silently as possible, with no light.
Stop! Police! On the floor! Get on the floor! Fast! On the floor! Hands up! Hands behind your back! Get your hands behind your back! Name?
Volkov.
What?
Volkov.
First name?
Dmitry.
Year of birth?
1990.
What are you doing here?
I'm just visiting my friend.
Do you have anything to do with the owner?
What?
What have you got to do with him?
He's an acquaintance.
What do you mean an acquaintance?
Igor is just someone I know.
Surname?
Whose?
The owner's?
Kuznikov. Kuznikov.
Do you know him?
No.
Tell me the owner's surname again.
Lazarev. I made a mistake just now.
The house owner is the boss of the gang of alleged murderers. He was in a different room. The special forces surprised him while he was asleep. The man in the swimming pool probably is just an innocent acquaintance. He comes from the Ukraine and just needed somewhere to sleep. Lazarev allowed him to stay at his house overnight. The second and third raids are taking place at the same time, in the North Russian city of Murmansk and here in the center of Moscow.
Police, on the floor! Everyone on the floor! Stay down! Hands behind your head!
Лежать! Всем лежать! Руки за голову!
In this apartment, Sobr Bulat succeeds in apprehending the second suspect. It's the young woman who is just being handcuffed. She's said to be the one who had the idea to blackmail the heroin dealer. The 22-year-old is also believed to have been directly involved in the murder. Detectives begin the search for evidence. The dark-haired woman is obviously just an acquaintance and has nothing at all to do with the murder. In the meantime, along with the woman here and the gang leader, the third suspect has also been arrested in Murmansk. Back at the dacha site, just outside Moscow, the alleged head of the gang denies having any involvement at all in the crime.
Igor Nikolaevich?
Yeah, that's me. And who are you?
Homicide. That should be fairly clear.
No.
So you've no idea why we're here and what this is all about?
No.
That's sad.
The special forces search the rest of the house.
Сопротивление не успел оказать,
He couldn't put up any resistance.
так как неожиданно для него наше
He didn't expect us at all.
ну, что и требовалось доказать.
And now we're searching for any other people,
На предмет посторонних лиц, осмотрим
as well as illegal items.
запрещенных предметов.
So, let's carry on.
Все, работаем.
By illegal items, the commander means weapons and drugs. The alleged boss of this murderous gang and his two accomplices will now have to get used to the idea of spending a long time in a prison camp. His innocent overnight guest can expect to be released again soon. The elite police officers of the Russian National Guard dive from one cesspit of crime into the next. Whether murderers, bank robbers, dealers, thieves, and sometimes even terrorists. The greatest dangers any society has to offer is everyday business for the special forces of Sobr Bulat.